CreepyCorner stories.
Hey everyone, welcome back to CreepyCorner stories. You know, diving into the dark web is always risky, but sharing these stories with you makes it worth it. I'm curious, where are you watching this from right now? Let me know in the comments below. I've noticed that these kinds of stories hit differently depending on where you are. It might even make the experience a little creepier. So, tell me, are you watching from the safety of your home or somewhere less secure? My parents work for the FBI. Last night I found them as most wanted suspects on the dark web. Okay, so before I get into this, let me just say, I'm not here for clout or karma or whatever. I'm posting this because I genuinely don't know who else to tell. If something happens to me after this, well, I hope this post is still up. So, yeah, my name's Ethan, I'm 17, and my parents are both agents at the FBI. Yeah, I know how that sounds. You probably think I live in some top secret bunker with black SUVs parked outside and retina scanners on my fridge. But nah, we're pretty normal on the surface. We live in a regular 2-story house in Arlington, Virginia, a couple blocks from a Starbucks and like 5 minutes from the Pentagon. My mom's a cybersecurity analyst and my dad's a field agent. That's literally all I've ever been told. They work weird hours, sometimes disappear for days, and never ever talk about what they do. Growing up, that was just normal for me. Until last night. Last night, I found out everything. So it started when I stayed home sick from school. Nothing crazy, just one of those headaches that feels like your skull's getting slowly crushed from the inside. My mom was already gone. She leaves by 6 a.m. and my dad left around 9 after checking in on me. That's when I noticed it. My dad forgot to lock his office door. You gotta understand, that thing is always locked, like Fort Knox style. I've tried to get in before just out of curiosity, and literally triggered some weird motion-activated alarm that made the house lights flash red. No joke. But that morning, it was open. So yeah, I went in. It looked pretty normal at first. Clean, minimalist. A couple of locked filing cabinets, 2 monitors, a printer, and an old wooden desk with this weird map of DC etched into the top. I know. I should have just left it alone. But the curiosity hit me hard. I mean, wouldn't you be curious if you grew up your whole life being told, don't ask questions, and suddenly had access to the forbidden lair? So I sat down at his computer. It was already on, just in sleep mode. I moved the mouse, and boom, it opened straight to a desktop with this weird wallpaper. It was just static, like actual TV static, black and white fuzz. No icons, no shortcuts. Creepy as hell. I almost logged off right there, but I noticed something in the bottom left corner. A folder titled Redacted. It was literally blinking. Now, here's where it gets weird. I clicked on it, and instead of opening a regular window, it launched some kind of terminal. Like old school green text on a black background. It just started typing by itself. Welcome back, Agent D. You have one new flagged file. Then it opened this image. At first, I couldn't tell what I was looking at. It was grainy, almost like footage from a gas station security cam. But then I saw it. 2 people, standing in a dark alley, one holding a briefcase, the other holding a knife. The face of the person with the briefcase was blurred. The one with the knife wasn't. It was my mom. I stared at it for maybe 10 seconds, not really processing what I was seeing. My stomach just sank. She was in her work clothes, black blazer, heels, hair in a bun, and she was smiling. Then the screen flickered. Another image loaded. This time, it was my dad. Same alley, different night. He was dragging something wrapped in a tarp behind a dumpster. His eyes looked right at the camera, right through it, right at me. I slammed the monitor off, just full panic. My hands were shaking, my breathing was shallow, like I'd just seen a ghost. I sat there for what felt like an hour trying to rationalize it. Maybe it was fake, a deep fake, some kind of internal FBI training simulation or something, right? I don't know what possessed me, but I powered the computer back on. Same static wallpaper, but this time there was a second folder. No title, just a symbol. It looked like an eye with a crack running through the middle. I double-clicked it, and my entire screen went black. No warning. Then a browser popped up. But it wasn't Chrome or Firefox. It was something I'd never seen before. Just a white bar and a blinking cursor, like a terminal browser for some hidden network. At the top, it said, "Welcome to Hollow Trace." That's when it hit me. This wasn't FBI software. This was the dark web. Now I'm not a hacker or anything, but I know what the dark web is. I've watched enough YouTube rabbit holes at 2 a.m. to know it's not just some edgy Reddit thread. It's where people buy organs, hire hitmen, stream torture rooms for Bitcoin. The real horror movie stuff. And my dad had direct access to it through his work computer. I was about to exit out when I saw a search bar at the top with the words, "Enter suspect ID or alias." I typed in my mom's name, half joking. Her profile came up instantly. No password, no prompt, just her face, her real name, her FBI badge photo. Underneath it, in blood red letters, "Wanted, Tier 1 offender, Operation Coffin Spine." There were files, dozens of them. Some were labeled things like witness disposal logs and level 4 containment breach, Berlin Starbucks incident. I clicked one at random. A PDF opened. It was a report, government seal, full formatting, official looking. It described a missing persons case from 2020. 2 college students who vanished after reporting a suspicious woman to the police outside a McDonald's in Munich, Germany. The last line chilled me to my core. Suspect eliminated targets at 2:14 a.m. using classified neurochemical method. All surveillance scrubbed, scene sanitized. The initials on the bottom of the page, D.H., my mom's initials. I backed out fast, too fast. The screen froze, then glitched hard, like my whole system was crashing. But just before it cut to black, one final message appeared in red font across the top of the screen. "You weren't supposed to see this, Ethan." I swear on everything. I didn't type my name anywhere. I hadn't entered a single password. It knew who I was. I ran out of the office and straight into the hallway. My parents weren't supposed to be home for hours, but when I turned the corner, they were both standing in the kitchen, waiting, smiling. I didn't scream. I couldn't. The second I saw both of them, my mom and dad, just standing there in the kitchen like they'd been waiting specifically for me to leave that room, my whole body went into some kind of primal autopilot. My heartbeat, like it was pounding so loud I thought they could hear it. My limbs were frozen, like I wasn't even in control of myself anymore. They were smiling, but not in a, "Hey, you're home early" kind of way. It was that kind of frozen, too perfect smile, the kind that doesn't move with the eyes. Their faces were calm, but their eyes were dead. like the lights were on, but nobody was home, like they'd practiced how to look human. "Hey, bud," my dad said, casual as ever, like we were at a barbecue. "What were you doing in my office?" I played dumb. Of course I did. I said I was just looking for Tylenol or something, that I felt dizzy. I avoided eye contact. I think I even fake stumbled, like I was about to faint. He nodded slowly, then looked at my mom. She tilted her head at me. Tilted, not turned. Tilted, like a damn owl. "We should run a wellness check on him," she said. "Make sure nothing got in." Nothing got in? What did that even mean? That's when things got off. She reached into her blazer pocket and pulled out a small black device. It looked like a pocket thermometer, but instead of a temperature reading, it just had this pulsing red line that reacted when she pointed it at me. She hovered it over my face, then moved it down to my chest. The line kept blinking. No numbers, just blinking. "He's clear," she said. "Are you sure?" my dad asked. She nodded, but I could hear something in her voice. Doubt, suspicion, fear. After that, they just went back to normal, like they flipped a switch. My mom started making dinner, chicken and rice. My dad poured himself a glass of wine. I walked back upstairs, trying to act casual, and locked my door behind me. That's when I knew I wasn't living in a house. I was living in a containment cell. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't even sit down. I just stood by my window for hours, listening for footsteps outside my door, holding the metal bat I'd kept under my bed since I was 10. Around 3 a.m., I heard movement downstairs. I peeked out through the hallway and saw the light in the office was back on. Except now, there were 3 shadows moving inside. 3 people, but I only heard 2 voices. The next morning, everything felt worse. My parents acted like nothing had happened. My dad even offered me a ride to school. I told him I wasn't feeling well again and stayed home. As soon as they left, I tried to go back into the office, but the door was sealed. Literally sealed, like welded shut from the inside. You could still smell the burnt metal in the hallway. So I went back into my room. I started researching, digging deep into forums, subreddits, places I probably shouldn't have been looking. And that's when I found the phrase again, Operation COFFINSPINE, but not on the surface web, not even on r/conspiracy or r/no-sleep. It was buried in a hidden Discord server, linked from a YouTube video that got taken down minutes after I clicked it. The thumbnail was just static, but when I clicked on it, it opened a live stream. A live stream of my house. I kid you not. The camera was somewhere above, maybe a drone or satellite, but it was my house. You could see the backyard, my bedroom window, my parents' car in the driveway, and the caption under it said, "Coffin Spine, Phase 3, Immersion Successful. Subject, ETA, 7845. Subject. Was I the subject? I joined the Discord. It had maybe 12 members. No profile pictures. All the usernames were just numbers. But the pinned messages, that's where I found the stuff that'll never leave my head. Screenshots of families. Photos taken from inside people's houses. From inside the walls. Notes written in blood, taped to the back of televisions, saying things like, "You are not raising your children. We are." Or, "You agreed to this." There is no off switch. There was one message, posted at 4:37 a.m. that was just a photo of a severed hand wearing a class ring from my high school. I stared at it for so long, trying to convince myself it was fake, but it wasn't. I recognized the ring. It belonged to Mr. Faulkner, my chemistry teacher. He'd been on leave for 2 weeks. No one questioned it. I was losing it. I felt like I was unraveling. Every time I passed a mirror, I started to wonder if I was even real, if I'd been replaced, if my parents were still my parents or something, wearing them like costumes. The final straw? That came the next night. Around 2:13 a.m., I woke up to the sound of breathing. Not mine, someone else's. I didn't open my eyes right away. I just listened. It was deep, slow, and ragged. Wet. Like whoever was breathing was struggling to do it right. I opened one eye. There was someone standing at the foot of my bed. Not my mom, not my dad. Someone else. Too tall. Thin. Wearing my dad's work suit, but the skin didn't fit right. It was loose around the wrists. The head tilted, just like my mom's had, but too far. Unnatural. Its arms were just too long. Its face, no eyes, just a stitched over blindfold with the same symbol I saw on that folder. The eye with the crack. It spoke, not aloud, in my head. A voice that didn't feel like it belonged in this world. The host is aware. You are too early. I blinked, and it was gone, like it had melted into the wall. The next morning, my parents told me we were going on a family vacation. No warning. Just said we needed to disconnect. Said we were going to some lake house upstate. But they didn't bring any luggage. And when we got in the car, the GPS wasn't set to any location. It just had one word flashing on the screen. Delivery. We didn't go north. We drove out into the country, way past cell towers, through fields where the trees looked wrong, bent, burned at the tips, like they'd been struck by lightning again and again, but never caught fire. At one point, we passed a billboard. It was blank, except for one message in red. We see you too, Ethan. That's when I made the choice. I jumped, right out of the moving car into a ditch, rolled for maybe 10 feet. My vision went dark for a minute, but when I looked up, the car was just gone. Not like driven away, gone. I mean gone. No tire marks, no road, nothing. I walked for hours through the trees until I found a gas station off a dead-end road. One of those creepy silent ones where even the air feels still. I asked to use the phone. The guy behind the counter just stared at me. Didn't speak. Didn't blink. I looked down and saw he didn't have fingers. Just bone. Like dressed up bone. I ran again. Eventually, I made it to a truck stop, and I'm posting this from a burner phone I bought with stolen cash from a vending machine glitch. I'm not safe. Not even close. Because tonight, I logged back into that Discord, and there was a new message pinned for me. ETA revised. You have 38 minutes and 22 seconds remaining. Prepare for replacement protocol. I think they're sending something else to finish the job, and it's not going to knock. I made a mistake. I thought running would buy me time. I thought getting away from my parents, or whatever's wearing them now, would keep me ahead of whatever was coming. But last night, I realized something horrifying. They never planned to take me to the lake house. I was already there. It happened when I tried to check the time on my burner phone. No service, no Wi-Fi, no GPS. I walked outside the truck stop into what I thought was a remote little gas station lot on the side of a forest highway. But when I stepped into the tree line behind the dumpsters to find a place to pee, I tripped over something hard in the dirt. A sign, broken, half buried. I dug around it with my fingers, pulled it up, brushed the mud off, and felt my chest cave in. It read, Lake Rosary Lodge. Welcome back, Ethan. It was carved, burned in. My fingernails still have splinters from touching it. I sprinted back to the truck stop, heart pounding like a jackhammer in my throat. It was gone. The entire building, just erased. Like a piece of scenery had been deleted from a video game. Only the parking lot remained, and even that started crumbling under my feet. The sky wasn't sky anymore. It was flat, black, but not nighttime black. More like the color behind your eyelids when you know something is standing in front of you in the dark. I wasn't in Virginia. I wasn't anywhere. Let me describe this place, because you need to understand the wrongness of it. The trees around me aren't trees. They're pillars of something that just looks like wood, until you get close enough to see the bark pulsing, breathing. Some of them have eyes, not human eyes, animal eyes, like goat pupils crossed with dead fish gloss. They blink in reverse. And the sounds. God, the sounds. Every few minutes, you'll hear what sounds like a car horn off in the distance, but it keeps getting closer, then suddenly stops. No vehicle ever shows up. Once, I heard what I swear to God was a Taco Bell commercial playing on loop in the forest, but the voice was wrong, robotic, croaky, like it was being read by something that had only heard humans speak through broken radios. Eventually, I found the cabin. It was exactly like the photo we had in our living room. Growing up, family vacation, 2013. That old wooden house with chipped green paint, hanging string lights, and a dock leading out into this glassy lake that never rippled. Except here, the lights were off. The house looked decayed, hollowed out, like a giant centipede had been living inside it for a decade. The dock, rotten. The water, black, not because of nighttime, just pitch black like pure ink. There were no fish, no insects, no birds, but there were faces in the lake. Yeah, human faces, just beneath the surface, barely visible, not floating corpses, flat, like their heads were carved into the water, looking up in silent agony, eyes wide open, but mouths sewn shut with what looked like barbed wire. I should have turned around. I should have kept walking, but I didn't, because the front door was open. The second I stepped inside, it hit me. This place wasn't abandoned. It was staged. Every single item inside that cabin had been specifically placed for me. My baby blanket, clean and folded on the couch. A melted birthday candle from my 10th party at Chuck E. Cheese. Even a half-burned drawing I made in 4th grade of my family holding hands was framed on the wall. The worst part? There was another photo next to it. A family of 4. Same poses, same outfits. But none of them were us. They had our faces, but they weren't right. The mom's eyes were reversed. The dad had no ears. The kid, me, was holding something in his hand. A knife. I went room to room, looking for any sign of a phone, a weapon, a clue, anything. But this place didn't operate on logic. The upstairs bedrooms were endless. I walked through 12 doors before realizing they all looped back into each other, like a Mobius strip. One room had hundreds of photos of me pinned to the ceiling, all taken from slightly different angles, like I was being filmed by a dozen hidden cameras while I slept. Another room had a mannequin of me sitting in a chair, staring at the wall. It was wearing my exact hoodie, my sneakers. The back of its head was split open, like a cracked coconut, and inside wasn't brain. It was tape, literal VHS tape, spooling slowly, labeled Ethan, Final Cut, Softshell version. I didn't touch it. I couldn't. I could hear it breathing. Eventually, I found a basement door. Old wooden hatch in the kitchen floor, bolted with 6 locks. Every lock was already open, like someone had just come up from it, or was waiting down there. I went down. I don't know why. Curiosity is a disease, and I had it bad. I wish I hadn't. The stairs weren't wood. They were teeth. I'm not being poetic. I mean literal, curved human teeth, stacked root down, slick and warm, like they'd just been pulled. They moved when I stepped on them. At the bottom, it was dark, but not no light dark. It was alive. A living darkness that blinked every few seconds. I heard whispering in that dark. Not words, copies of my voice. I know what you saw. You shouldn't have looked. They're not your parents. They're not your parents. They're not your... Then it stopped. And that's when I saw the cages. 12 of them, each about the size of a broom closet, lined against the wall like animal pens. In each one was a person wearing my face. But worse, they weren't human. One had no limbs, just dozens of eyes blinking on a torso like a sponge. One was skinned from the jaw down, as if its flesh had been peeled like fruit and carefully tucked into its own body cavity. One had my voice, but screamed like a fax machine, high-pitched and digital, and they all stared at me. Every single one, not with confusion, with envy. The one closest to me whispered something. I bent down, just barely, to hear it. Its mouth didn't move, but I felt the words inside my own skull. They chose you because your brain bends easily. Not too smart, not too weak, just right. That's why they cloned us, to test what breaks you first. And they're almost done. The shell fits now. I ran. Didn't look back. Didn't care where I went. Back through the teeth. Out the cabin door. I didn't stop until I passed out under the rotted dock, curled in mud and bones. And when I woke up, there was a phone sitting next to me. Burner phone. Old. Still on. Unlocked. Open to a group chat I didn't recognize. Just one message. He's ready. Send the replacement. That was 12 hours ago. I've been running through this woods loop for what feels like a week. My fingernails are cracked from clawing through bark that bleeds. My teeth are loose. I haven't eaten, and I can't tell if I'm starving or being fed something else without knowing. And just now, I found another me. Dead, hanging upside down from a tree, split clean in half from groin to chin. Inside its stomach was a note stapled to the liver. Your turn. Skin fits. Soon you'll be just as hollow. If this doesn't get taken down, I'll post part 4 soon. I don't think I'm Ethan anymore, but I'm not the replacement either. And whatever they are, what's wearing my parents, it's sending something to finish the job. This time, I don't think I'll see it coming. I don't know how much longer my brain will hold together. I keep hearing this mechanical voice inside my head every few minutes, repeating this phrase like a broken GPS. Assimilation error, correction pending, rehearsal required. It's not my voice. It's not anyone's voice. It sounds like a synthetic version of what a voice would sound like if your ears weren't human. Every time it says it, I lose something. A memory, a taste, a word. Like I'm being scraped hollow, cell by cell. And the worst part? I think it's working. After I found the body, that twisted version of myself, hanging like some sick Halloween decoration, something changed. The forest stopped looping. I could feel it. The trees weren't watching anymore. They were listening, leaning closer, and somewhere in the distance, I could hear this faint mechanical ticking, like an enormous grandfather clock. buried beneath the earth, winding backward. The ink lake behind the house began bubbling, not like boiling water, like something underneath was rising, and I swear to God, I saw a spine surface for a split second, just the curve of a massive, wet, vertebral column, the size of a school bus, covered in pale skin and mouths with no lips. And then, I woke up inside a room I'd never seen before. The floors were metal, polished, too clean, hospital clean. There were two-way mirrors on all four walls, but I couldn't see into them. Only my reflection, multiplied infinitely, bouncing back at me like a graveyard of who I used to be. Some versions were crying, some were smiling. One was banging its head against the glass in sync with my heartbeat. There were no doors, but I wasn't alone. There were chairs, 5 of them, arranged in a half circle, and in each one sat a person that looked like me, but not exactly. One of them was about 7 years old, wearing my old Cub Scouts uniform, with teeth that were too many. Another looked like a high school version of me, but with no skin, just raw red muscle pulsing with every breath. The third, it was wearing my clothes from yesterday. Exact, down to the mud on the left sneaker and the burn mark on the hoodie sleeve. The fourth was completely wrapped in plastic, head to toe, like meat at a grocery store. You could see the fog from its breathing building inside the face wrap. And the fifth chair, empty, just a sticky note on the seat. Rehearsal in progress. Subject 5 arriving shortly. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. And then the lights turned red. A door opened. Not a real door, just a square in the wall glitching, like the pixels on a screen burning out and revealing something beneath. A figure stepped out. It wasn't human. It was trying. Imagine someone being shown 5 blurry security camera pictures of a human and being told, now build one out of garbage bags, formaldehyde, and grief. It had the right number of limbs. Mostly. Its skin was stretched in the wrong directions. Its smile was vertical instead of horizontal. No nose, just slits. It wore a full black suit, the kind FBI agents wear in movies, but it hung wrong, like the bones inside were bent the opposite way. It was holding a clipboard. It clicked a pen with fingers that had no joints and said, in a voice that tasted like chewing foil, Subject 5 is ready for rehearsal. Begin family simulation. The other versions of me stood up. The plastic-wrapped one twitched violently, like it had electricity running through it. The skinned one screamed, but there was no sound. Its mouth just opened too far, all the way back to its neck. And then they started acting. I'm not joking. They acted like we were in a school play, performing scenes from my real life. Plastic me walked to the mirror and said, "Can I go to Dylan's party tonight, Mom? I promise I won't touch anything." Skinned me stood at the center and mimicked me crying the night my childhood dog got put down. It even had the little shoulder hitch I do when I try not to sob. Then the suit thing turned to me and said, "Your lines are late, Ethan. Rehearse them correctly, or you will be rewritten." The chair behind me grew limbs, like spider legs. It grabbed me, yanked me down into it. I wanted to scream, but my throat was stuck in a loop, like a skipping CD. And then it handed me a script, typed, bold, government header, U.S. Bureau of Memory Adaptation, Project, Coffin Spine Roll, Ethan Daniel Reed, Vessel Class, Semi-Coherent, Phase 4, Scene 7, A, Discovery of the Office Folder, Line 1, I just wanted to find some Advil. Line 2, why is there a folder called Redacted? Line 3, Mom, why are you holding a knife? I dropped it. It screamed. The script screamed, not the people, not the room, the paper, like it had a voice of its own, like I'd just heard it. And then the lights went black again. When they came back on, I was back in my childhood bedroom, except it wasn't mine. It was reconstructed, too perfect, like someone had crawled inside my memories and rebuilt it from memory alone, wrong in tiny, evil ways. My trophy shelf had trophies I'd never won. One of them said, "First place, host candidate extraction, age 8. My bookshelf was filled with books I'd never read, but all with my name as the author. One was called How to Accept Replacement, and there was a camera in the ceiling. It blinked. I blinked. Then the closet door opened. Out stepped my mom, or what looked like her, but her skin was perfect, like airbrushed, pores gone, eyes too wide. Her voice, when she spoke, came from behind me, not from her mouth. "Dinner's ready, Ethan." I asked what we were having. She smiled. "You." Then she lunged. I blacked out, woke up outside, naked, covered in stickers with the FBI logo, taped across my chest and eyes like censorship bars. A laptop was sitting beside me. No power cord, no battery, screen still on. It showed a browser tab open to a live stream. Ethan, verified, live field feed, 17,004 viewers. I clicked play. It was me, running, screaming, bleeding from the mouth. Inside a maze made of screens showing every moment of my life on loop, but edited, slightly altered. My smiles were too long. My eyes blinked out of sync. In one, I was helping my dad bury something in the yard, but I never did that. And now I'm here. Again. Somewhere between the lake and the rehearsal room, and something deeper I can feel waking up beneath the soil. The sky here isn't sky anymore. It's a mirror. And just now, I saw something lean in. Not me, not Ethan, but something that wore my skin better than I ever did. But endings don't always belong to the original. Sometimes they're stolen. Sometimes they're rehearsed. They told me I was the original. They showed me a file, scanned on crumpled government paper, stained with black mold, still dripping. Subject file, Ethan Daniel Reed, original terminated, final shell inhabited, reality thread severed, replacement status, active, and under that, written in ink, or maybe burned into the paper itself. If you are reading this, the body you wear is not yours. Let me explain what I mean. Even though words are falling apart in my head, even though I can feel the seams of my mind peeling back like wet paper, even though I've stopped dreaming in pictures and started dreaming in security camera feeds, even though I'm not breathing anymore, but I can still hear my lungs moving. It started when I finally found the door. Not a real one, not wooden, not metal. This door was wet, alive. It sat at the base of the ink lake, like a scab waiting to be picked, shaped like a spine curled into a loop, the center made of pale flesh glass, showing something inside it. Something with my voice, but not my words. Whispering, repeating one phrase, over and over. Let me in. Let me wear it. Let me be. I should have turned around. Should have ended it right there. But I stepped in. And that's when the replacement room revealed itself. You've never seen real horror until you've watched your own autopsy happen before you've died. The walls were covered in me. Photos, skin prints, dental molds, copies of my spinal x-rays lined up like artwork. They'd measured me, timed my brainwaves, replicated my handwriting, simulated my social media habits, down to how I hold my phone when I doom scroll. Every like, every comment, every late night YouTube search. They watched all of it, and then they used it. There were shelves filled with Ethan prototypes, some with breathing tubes, some twitching, some folded like origami, bones cracked in impossible ways just to fit them inside glass tanks. One of them had no head, but was still sobbing through its neck, and they all wore tags. Every tag said the same thing. Didn't pass the family test. Dispose by week's end. And there it was, the truth. All this time, I thought I was being hunted. I wasn't. I was being refined, tested like a lab rat in a simulation made of my memories, judged by how convincingly I believed I was still human. They had been waiting for me to crack, but I didn't. So they gave me the part, and then I saw her, my mom, the real one, what was left of her, naked, gray, hung upside down like slaughterhouse meat. Her face had been peeled off like a mask and pressed onto a mannequin head, now sitting in a bowl of ice next to a clipboard. Her mouth was still moving, repeating the same phrase. I'm sorry. I didn't want you to find out like this. I didn't look away. She blinked. She had no eyelids. They harvested her memories. Same with my dad. Their personalities were rendered, digitized into hollow puppets that now wear their faces and take calls at the FBI pretending to be real. They're not real. They're scripts. They answer the phone with pre-written responses that change based on the emotional tone of the caller's voice. I watched one get reset mid-sentence when it smiled too wide during a fake Zoom call. And then came the final stage, the mirror room. They sat me in front of a chair, strapped my arms down with flesh belts, skin from my own test failures, still warm, placed a mirror in front of me, and told me to watch. What I saw, it was me, but it wasn't. It was a perfect version, not prettier, not smarter, just smoother, refined, emotionally hollow, but expressionally perfect. It smiled the way I always wanted to smile. It blinked exactly every 5.3 seconds. Its skin had no scars, no acne, no asymmetry. And then it stepped out from the mirror. It was three-dimensional. It was standing in front of me. And the voice over the intercom said, "Congratulations, you've passed. Your replacement has been accepted. Now, let's make space for him." That's when they cut open my chest, without anesthesia. They used a scalpel made from my father's finger bone. I saw the initials still burned into the tip, DH, before it went into me. They didn't pull anything out, no organs, no blood. They downloaded me. I know how that sounds, but they used this rod-shaped device, slid it down my throat, and whispered into it. Their voice, insectoid, robotic, shattered. Begin mental siphon. Emotion, identity, tone, history. I felt my childhood pour out of me like steam. Every birthday, every heartbreak, every time I cried watching a horror movie, late at night, gone. I screamed. The other Ethan just stood there, smiling, not mocking, grateful. When they were done, they left me in the final room. They call it the gallery. It's where the discarded originals go. There are hundreds of us here, not dead, not alive, just missing, lining the walls like mannequins in frozen poses, all of us with our mouths open in permanent screams that never make sound, our tongues replaced with plastic tags that say things like, "Model rejected, too emotional," "Model rejected, overthinker," "Model rejected, mentioned the folder," "Model rejected, dreamed of doors." I can't move, but I'm still awake. I still see. Every day, the new versions of us walk through, wearing our faces, practicing their lines, smiling for invisible cameras, and then they leave, back into your world, back into your homes. If you're reading this, it's because the last part of me escaped. The part they couldn't capture. The part they call the ghost bite. A digital echo of a consciousness too stubborn to die. They let it escape because they need you to know. To panic, because panic sells better than horror now. This version of me will disappear soon. The shell has already started flaking. I've forgotten what my real voice sounds like. I no longer blink unless told. I can't feel my hands, but I can feel him. The real Ethan, or what's left of him. He's in the mirror again, not moving, not smiling, just watching, waiting for you to lean in too close. Because the mirror, it's not a reflection, it's a window. And behind it, they're rehearsing someone with your face next. I found leaked documents on the dark web about time travel. It keeps giving hints that the real time travel machines are hidden from society behind the ice wall. What's up, Reddit? I never thought I'd be the guy posting some creepypasta real-life horror story on here, but I'm freaking out. Like, actual goosebumps, shaky hands, jumping at every sound, kind of freaked out. I don't even know how long I've got before something happens to me, but if something does, this is my record. Alright, I'll just start from the beginning. No weird build-up or philosophical deep thoughts or anything, just how it happened straight up. So for some context, I'm a 23-year-old guy. I live alone in a tiny apartment above a laundromat in Denver, Colorado. I do freelance graphic design and edit Twitch VODs for streamers to make rent. I'm not some hacker or whistleblower or any kind of edgy dark web hero. I'm literally just a night owl with too much time and too little sleep. It all started 2 weeks ago. I was on Reddit, just messing around in our deep web, reading posts where people were sharing creepy stories. You know, the usual stuff. Hitmen services, fake passports, cursed AI videos, whatever. Most of it was BS. Entertaining, but BS. But then I saw a comment thread that was way more cryptic than usual. Like, weirdly poetic. A guy with the username glasscoast_99 wrote, "If you think time is linear, you haven't been north. Don't trust the stars. The gates are beneath the ice." It got heavily downvoted and buried, but someone replied with coordinates. I plugged them into Google Maps out of curiosity, expecting them to lead to the middle of the ocean or something, but they pointed to this nondescript patch of white in Antarctica, like right on the edge of what most public maps blur out, or just don't bother detailing. You ever zoom in too close on Google Earth near the poles? Everything gets pixelated and weird, like it's been painted over. Anyway, I was intrigued, so I messaged the guy. Didn't expect a response. But 3 hours later, I got one. No text. No, hey, what's up? Just a link. .onion address. Dark web only. I don't usually mess with Tor browsers anymore. I've had my sketchy Silk Road phase back in high school, but this was different. The link led to a super bare-bones site. No colors, no design, just white courier text on a black background. Old school command line vibes. There was one file for download, ice9.zip. Here's where I probably should have bounced, but I don't know. Curiosity is a messed up drug, so I downloaded it, scanned it 3 times. It was clean. The folder contained exactly 7 PDFs and 1 MP4 file. No metadata, no watermarks. The PDFs looked like they were printed from some internal document system. All labeled things like MK Ultra Rebooted, 2011 to 2014. Chrono Gate Funding Approval, 2009. Operation Frigid Veil. Notes from NORAD. Internal Inquiry. Unauthorized Antarctic Activity. That last one really got me. I opened it up and it was deep. Like, not just government lingo, but fully redacted memos, transcripts of encrypted comms between agents, and a whole section that kept referring to the wall. Not the Great Wall of China, not Trump's border wall, the ice wall. You know that flat earther theory about how Antarctica isn't a continent, but a ring around the earth? I always thought that was nonsense, but the way the document phrased things was weirdly vague. Like it never outright said the earth was flat or anything like that, but it kept talking about the perimeter containment system and how breaches beyond the ice curtain were unauthorized travel violations. One line literally read, "Time anomalies, increase in severity, beyond latitude, 78 degrees south, recommending full blackout of TikTok and Instagram geotags within affected radius." That's not even the weirdest part. The MP4 file was only 14 seconds long, looked like drone footage, super grainy, old GoPro style visuals. The camera was flying low over a sheet of ice. Then it tilted upward, slowly, and you could see a structure, not a mountain, not natural. This thing was black, glossy, geometrically perfect, like it looked like an Apple store was dropped in the middle of Antarctica. As the drone got closer, you could see red lights lining the outer rim of the structure, and for a split second before the video cut off, I swear to God, the structure opened, like a door unsealing. No hinges. It just silently slid open into blackness. Then boom, video ends. That's it. No sound, no context. Just 14 seconds that looked like they were never meant to exist. I didn't sleep that night. Not just because of the video, but because as I was about to shut everything down, my phone buzzed. It was a Twitter DM from an account with no profile picture, no followers. Handle at Arctic Mirror 9. It just said, "Delete ice 9. You weren't supposed to see this." I blocked the account immediately, threw my phone on the other side of the room, and unplugged my router just in case. But now it's been 2 weeks, and things are getting worse. I've noticed cars outside my place that don't belong here. Same black van, parked in different spots every other day. My Wi-Fi password resets itself. One morning, my Google Home just blurted out, "Coordinates confirmed. Clock adjustment required." My friend Max, who helps me with encryption stuff sometimes, tried to decrypt the lost PDF in the folder. It was password protected, and the second he opened it, his laptop bricked itself. Like BIOS fried, full blue screen, then smoke came out the back of the thing. He swears he didn't click anything wrong. I don't know what ICE 9 really is, but if even half of those documents are legit, then we're being lied to in a way bigger than aliens or Area 51. Like, this is fabric of reality stuff. One of the documents says the real-time travel tests began back in 1983, using a place called the Orion Crater off the South Pole. It kept referencing a phrase, "Only the dead can cross the frost line." I haven't figured out what that means yet, but I'm gonna keep digging. I have to. If something happens to me, check the coordinates I posted below. Something is hidden behind the ice wall, and it's not meant to be found. Let me know if you all want the second part. I still have 5 of the PDFs left to go through, and something's not right with the reflections in my mirror lately. I swear, sometimes my reflection moves slightly after I do. God, I hope this isn't all in my head. It started happening 3 days after I opened the last decrypted PDF. You ever see something so wrong, so unnatural, that your brain just refuses to process it? Like it just glitches out and tries to pass it off as a trick of the light, or you're tired, or maybe it was a dream. That's how it began. Tiny, forgettable errors in the simulation that I almost ignored. The sound of my kitchen faucet running when I hadn't been in there in hours. My microwave timer blinking 3:33, even though the power had never gone out. My bedroom mirror fogged up like someone had been breathing on it. Writing started appearing in the steam, drawn from the inside, but it wasn't my handwriting. The decrypted file was titled Mirrored Gates Initiative, and I swear to you, this wasn't some conspiracy thread or creepypasta PDF made by a basement dweller. This was an internal communication between Lockheed Martin and an unknown agency called simply OPHIS. I couldn't find a single trace of OPHIS online, but the letterhead looked ancient, almost military, but with this spiral sigil stamped in red ink on every page, like a snake eating its own tail, but upside down. The document explained how during experiments conducted at an undisclosed polar station, name redacted, operatives discovered that time travel didn't require a machine the way we thought it did. It wasn't about building a DeLorean or turning on some Star Trek portal. It was about locations, specific places on Earth where the veil between moments was thin, where you could, in theory, walk from one year into another like stepping into another room. But it wasn't safe. It wasn't clean. It wasn't some neat chronogate. They called them fracture points, places where time folds over itself like broken glass. And if you don't walk the path perfectly, you splinter. The report included photographs, not digital, scans of old Polaroids. I wish I could show you, but even writing them out is making my skin crawl. There was this one photo I can't stop seeing in my head. A man, well, what used to be a man, sitting in a white room. He was wearing a full Antarctic survival suit, face completely obscured by frost. But his hands were bent backwards, like they were growing from the wrong direction. Elbows twisted, fingers split at the knuckles, like they duplicated in both directions. The caption read, Subject 9, A, improper entry at gate iota, self-aware, non-verbal, still aging backward. That night, I woke up to scratching, not in the walls, under my bed. And when I leaned over to check, my phone lit up on the floor. I hadn't touched it. A notification from Notes was open. I never opened it. It just said, one step off the path and your insides forget which way time is going. There was no app open, just that sentence, hovering like a draft I never typed. 2 days later, Max, my friend who tried to decrypt the original file, went completely silent. I drove over to his place just outside Boulder. I knocked, rang, texted, no answer. So I used the key he gave me months ago when we worked late nights. I wish I hadn't. When I opened the door, the house smelled like bleach and wet copper, the kind of smell that hits your reptile brain and screams wrong before you even see anything. His living room was normal. Kitchen looked untouched, but the walls were covered in sheets of paper, taped, stapled, nailed, thousands of printouts. It was the PDFs, hundreds of copies, all scrolled over in red ink, notes written upside down, some mirrored, some in perfect reverse, like they were meant to be read through a reflection. Over and over, one phrase, they aren't machines, they're mouths. In the back room, his server room, Max's desktop was on. The screen was black, but glowing red text blinked in the center. Sequence complete. 0000. I found Max's phone in the bathtub, submerged in ice. Not frozen, just very cold. I haven't heard from him since. I started digging deeper into the folders. Every time I did, the hallucinations, or whatever they are, got worse. One of the PDFs contained what looked like a script, a training module for soldiers stationed in something called Sector Theta 9, located beyond the glacial ring, outside the visible horizon. That's literally how it was described. There were rules, pages of them. I wrote a few down. Do not look into the mirrors during sunrise, not even accidentally. Do not respond to a version of yourself speaking from behind glass. If you find yourself remembering something that hasn't happened yet, report to Echo Hall immediately for memory correction. The stars will lie to you. They shift based on who is watching. That last one haunted me. And then came the most psychotic detail I've ever read in a government file. If you find your future self injured or dying outside a gate, you must finish the death. If they die before you act, you die in their place. After that, things escalated. I started blacking out. I'd wake up with dirt on my shoes. My eyes would burn like I'd been staring into floodlights. One morning, I opened my front door and found a disposable camera taped to the knob with electrical tape. No note, no brand, just a roll of film inside. I got it developed at this janky Walgreens in Littleton, where they still do film. When I picked it up, the lady at the counter wouldn't stop looking at me. She kept glancing at her manager like she wanted to say something but couldn't. The envelope was sealed extra tight with staples. There were 24 photos. All of them were of me, sleeping, brushing my teeth, in the grocery store, but not taken from normal angles, like low shots, faraway ones, from inside my closet, from across the parking lot. One was taken from behind my bathroom mirror, and the last one? It was taken at night. I was standing outside, not in my apartment or anywhere in Denver. It was snowing. Behind me, barely visible, was a massive, circular black doorway, cut into a wall of ice. I was holding a red flare, and my face was wrong. No expression, no fear, just dead, empty calm. The last file in the Ice 9 folder unlocked automatically on my desktop last night. I didn't click anything, didn't move the mouse, just popped open like a window being dragged open by invisible hands. The file was labeled Authorized Personnel Log, Audio Transcription, Gate 777, Temple, Observation Record. It was a transcript between two men, Operator Harrow and Observer Klein. They were stationed at something called the Outer Eye, apparently a surveillance post at the northern edge of the South Pole. I know that doesn't make sense, but that's exactly how it was worded. They were monitoring a gate that had opened without command, an unauthorized activation. They described something crawling out. They never gave it a name. They described it as mirrored, but only on the left half of its body. The right side was wrong, more organic. It talked, but in words you hadn't said yet. One of them panicked, shot at it. The bullets hit something else, themselves. The transcript cuts off mid-sentence with the sound of glass breaking. The footnote. Observation terminated. Memory correction initiated. Local time instability confirmed. Containment team. ETA. Infinity. I haven't left my apartment in 72 hours. The mirror in my bathroom shows things my body isn't doing. My reflection opens its mouth and holds it wide, like it's screaming, but no sound comes out. I've been seeing my own face in the crowd on TikTok lives. Some girl streaming in Paris, my face, blurred, reflected in the window behind her. A vlogger filming in Tokyo, same face, behind him, just for a second, looking directly into the camera. They're watching me everywhere. I keep hearing whispers under my bed again. One sentence, over and over. You've already walked through. You just forgot the scream. Don't ask me to show the files. Don't try to search OPHIS. If you find them, it's already too late. Because once you start seeing the gates, they see you back. What came through wasn't me, but it had my teeth. You ever feel something watching you from the wrong side of the world? Not across the street, not from the window. I mean from underneath, from the other side of your thoughts, like your shadow stepped out and started watching you back, and then smiled. That's how it's been since I saw the third gate open. I wasn't there. I didn't physically go to it, I don't think. But I saw it. I saw it in my dreams, like a memory pushed into my sleep. And I know it wasn't just a dream, because when I woke up, my right wrist was frostbitten, skin blistered white, fingernails brittle, my watch frozen, screen cracked right across the time, 7:77 a.m. time that doesn't exist. But that's exactly when the thing walked through. I've gone through every single file now, every part of Ice 9, even the corrupted ones. I managed to recover a backup from my RAM using a forensic tool Max installed before he vanished. One of the corrupted logs was simply labeled Gate Omega Incident Mirror Fork Reconstruction. It wasn't text. It was an audio file embedded in raw code. I don't even know how to describe what it played. It wasn't speech. It was like a human voice filtered through meat, wet clicking, teeth on glass, echoes that sounded like they were falling up instead of down. But every few minutes, the garbled audio would clear up, and I swear on my life, I heard my voice, screaming, then laughing, then saying something I have no memory of ever saying. The first copy survives. The second copy learns. The third copy feeds. I didn't realize how deep this went until I started seeing myself in public. I don't mean doppelgangers. I mean me. Same hoodie, same scar on my eyebrow from a scooter crash when I was 10. Same mismatched shoelaces. I saw myself sitting inside a Starbucks on Colfax in York. He looked at me like I was the copy, and when I panicked and tried to run, he smiled. It wasn't a normal smile. It was wrong. The corners stretched way too far, like the mouth decided how far it could go, not the skin. And his eyes didn't blink. They twitched, like they were refreshing every few seconds like browser tabs. I left. Fast. But when I got home, my apartment door was unlocked. Inside, it smelled like melted plastic and rotting paper. All the lights were on. My laptop was open, playing the surveillance footage from Max's apartment. But Max never had cameras. In the video, I watched myself, the version from Starbucks, standing over Max's body. You couldn't see what he was doing, but you could hear it, squelching, peeling, dripping. Then this sound, like flesh being twisted into tight knots. After a few seconds, the Starbucks me dragged Max's body into the corner and sat inside his skin like it was a suit, not putting it on, just climbing inside, like he'd done it before. I started researching more into OPHIS. The dark web forums where I first found the files were gone, not deleted, just wiped, like the URLs had never existed. but I managed to find a mirror site someone hosted in Russia, hidden in the HTML of a Minecraft server, mod page of all places, buried in base 64. I don't know how to explain how cursed that felt, like this information wanted to be found by the exact wrong person, me. The mirror site was a directory of surveillance logs, blurry, slow-loading JPEGs, and GIFs taken from something called the ARKNODE. Every image was of a gate. Some were frozen shut, some were open, some were in people's homes, behind mirrors, behind walls, hidden in the angles of buildings where shadows shouldn't touch. One of the images was labeled Gate 33, Initial Breach, Disneyland, Paris, January 6th, 2019. And in the grainy picture, you could see a gate forming inside the It's a Small World ride. In the backdrop behind the puppets, a perfect black circle, like a bullet hole punched through time. No one in the photo noticed it. The kids just kept smiling, singing. But in the corner of the frame, I saw someone looking at the camera. Me. That night, I decided I couldn't take it anymore. I tried to destroy the files. I threw my laptop into the bathtub, burned the papers, deleted every backup. But that's the thing, no one tells you about time anomalies. You can't delete the future once you've seen it. You become part of it, and it comes looking for you. 2 nights ago, I blacked out again, but not at home. I came to in a parking lot 20 miles away in Littleton, lying behind an abandoned gas station. My fingernails were gone, not ripped off, just not there anymore. No pain, just exposed pink flesh, smooth like it had healed over long ago. I checked my phone. The last photo in my gallery was one I never took. A selfie of me standing in front of the real ice wall. Not the fake maps, not the satellite garbage, the actual perimeter. A wall so high, it disappeared into cloud. Carved into the ice was a phrase in blood-red paint. Copy 5 has breached. Do not trust reflection. Behind me in the photo was a massive open gate, shaped like a vertical iris, blinking sideways. And behind that was something else. A shape. Tall, human-shaped, but with a head made entirely of mirrors. I finally remembered what the voice in my mirror had said before he stopped copying me. Only the real one dies. The others keep watching. Last night, I heard laughter coming from my kitchen. I don't mean TV laughter. I mean me. My exact laugh, echoing from behind the pantry door, but too loud, like it was layered over itself hundreds of times, distorted and bubbling, like something boiling over inside a throat. When I opened the pantry, it was just mirrors, dozens of them, all facing each other, none of them showing me. They were all showing different versions of me. One was missing his eyes. Another had 4 mouths stretched across his cheeks. One was smiling while holding up my childhood teddy bear. Another was screaming, but his jaw just kept unhinging, wider and wider, until it cracked. And one of them whispered something I've never said out loud, but thought during a breakdown at 3 a.m. 4 years ago. We weren't supposed to live. We were just supposed to be first. Now the mirrors don't reflect anything at all. Not even light. They're just black. Black like the gates. Black like the holes where time leaks out and things come through pretending to be you. My reflection smiled this morning and reached out of the mirror. His fingers slid through the glass like it was water. I didn't move. I just watched him touch my face and leave behind a smear that won't come off. It's not blood. It's mirror fluid. It reflects things I haven't seen yet. In the smear, I saw the inside of the gate. a giant chamber of glass teeth, and a row of corpses wearing my face. If I go missing, remember this: the gates don't open, they wake up. If I sound unhinged now, if my words feel like static between your thoughts, good. You're starting to see the edges, because once you've seen behind the simulation, once you've seen the faces stitched underneath your own reflection, there's no forgetting it. Not really. You only pretend to forget. You compartmentalize like you're supposed to, like the voices told you to when you were a kid and stared too long at the bathroom mirror during thunderstorms, waiting to blink and see your face blink second. You remember doing that, right? Thought it was just a game? It wasn't. The last surviving file from the ICE-9 archive wasn't digital. It came in the mail. I don't know how. No return address, no postmark. Just a black envelope shoved halfway into my locked mailbox. Inside was a Polaroid photo, and behind it, a microcassette. Yeah, like the old kind therapists used in the 90s. Not USB, not even SD. This thing came from a time that was before time, before digital rot. Something solid, something hard to erase. I had to order a used tape recorder off eBay just to listen to it. Took 3 days. The whole time, the mirrors in my apartment stopped showing anything at all. Not even walls, not even light, just hunger. When I finally played the tape, it began with silence. No hiss, just pure deadness. Then a voice. My voice, but not like the others. This one was older, croaky, dry and uneven, like every word was dragging itself through barbed wire. If you're hearing this, I failed. I walked through gate 0. I saw the truth engine. I saw the chamber. They're not machines. They're evolution. We were never meant to stay single. Time wasn't made for us to live once. Then silence. Then a sound that didn't belong on tape, like a child screaming backwards into a fan, mixed with metal scraping against itself in laughter. And behind that, a wet, gulping noise, like something being swallowed alive, slowly. The voice came back, but now it was layered. My voice, but split into 6 overlapping versions of me, all whispering different things at once. One of you kills, one of you feeds, one of you forgets, one of you breaks, one of you becomes the gate, but only one gets to keep their name. Then came the click. The tape stopped. I opened the Polaroid, hands shaking. The image showed a city buried in ice. Familiar outlines, buildings half frozen mid-collapse. I recognized the ruins of a Starbucks, a blown-out 7-Eleven, part of what looked like the Eiffel Tower, twisted like a corkscrew, buried halfway in white. And in the center of the photo was a hole. Not a crater, not a collapse. An intentional, geometrically perfect hole in the ice. And descending into it, my body. Just a black figure in a parka, crawling backward into the ground. It was dated March 17th, 2049. I don't know how I took that picture. I don't remember going there. But now, I hear it. Everywhere. The sound of the teeth. I tried sleeping 2 nights ago. Woke up tied to my own bed. But not by rope. Not by anything I could remove. By limbs. My own arms. Extra arms. Growing out of my sides like tumors. Wrapped around me. I couldn't scream. My mouth was gone. Sealed shut with a perfect seam. And above me, standing on the ceiling like it was the floor, was a version of me with no skin. He opened his mouth, and inside were more mouths. Each one whispered something only I would know. My secrets, the stuff I never told anyone. The way I used to cry in the school bathroom stall in 8th grade because I thought I wasn't real. The time I almost pushed a stranger into traffic just to see if it would make me feel anything. He whispered it all. Then he said, "We're not from here. We just took his life." I blinked, and I was free, back in my living room, alone. But the walls were bleeding. No windows, just mirrors, breathing. One of the Ice 9 logs had mentioned something I didn't understand at first. Phase collapse event, Bern, 1955. I dug deeper. Turns out in 1955, a power station in Bern, Switzerland, had an incident. No record of it online. Scrubbed clean. But I found a Reddit post from a guy claiming his grandfather worked there. Said the facility experienced an inverse blackout. Not darkness. Too much light. Light so dense it burned the shadows off people. Left them hollow, echoing with light. Walking around for 3 minutes before collapsing into liquid. And that light, it was coming from underground. The same coordinates appeared in a frame of the Disneyland gate photo. I pieced it together. They've been opening these gates for decades, testing them in populated areas, letting just enough people vanish that no one would notice. Blame it on mental illness, gas leaks, random violence. But those people didn't disappear. They were taken to the other side and copied. Last night, the 4th gate opened, not in Antarctica, in my kitchen. The fridge split in half, vertically. No sound, no movement, just a clean slit of darkness, humming like a broken flute. Out of it came a child. My child. I don't have kids, but I knew him. I remembered raising him. I remembered a scream when he was born. I remembered his 3rd birthday. He choked on a Lego. But those things never happened. The child looked at me, skin paper white, eyes entirely pupil, and whispered, "Don't look away this time. They'll take your bones." Then he ran into my bathroom and folded himself into the mirror. Not walked, not climbed. He folded, like a shadow being filed away. I called the police. They came. 2 officers, polite, normal. But when they stepped inside, they froze, stared at my bathroom door, then at each other. One of them said, "This is another node. He's phase bleeding." The other responded, "He's not the same one. We saw him in Sector 9 last week." I asked them what the hell was going on. They didn't answer. They just walked into the mirror, leaving behind their radios. The radios are still playing my voice, reading from the ICE-9 documents, pages I burned weeks ago. Now every screen in my apartment is stuck on one frame, a photo of me, smiling, no eyes, and behind me, visible only when I move slightly, is the black gate, framed by teeth, breathing in sync with my lungs. I can feel it now, not time. The others, the copies, the versions that were never supposed to exist, the ones who watched every time I stared into my phone camera, the ones who walked through first, the ones who learned how to wear skin like a suit. And you know what's worse? I don't know if I was ever the original, because when I looked into the mirror just now, I wasn't there, but I heard a voice. My voice. Don't scream. If you scream, it wakes up another. You think this is a story? You think you're just reading. You already looked into the gate. Now it's looking back through you. You've made it this far. You shouldn't have. You should have looked away during part 2 or part 3 when I told you about the mirror fluid. You should have closed your phone when I described Max folding himself inside out. But you didn't. You're still here. You kept pulling at the thread. So don't blame me when it wraps around your throat. I haven't slept in 4 days. Not because I can't, but because the second I close my eyes, I dream of a body made entirely of my regrets, standing at the edge of an ice shelf, holding a butcher knife made of calendar pages. And every time I blink in the dream, another version of me dies violently, drowning, burning, screaming with a voice that sounds like it's been learning how to cry for centuries. Let me tell you what happened after the fourth gate fully opened. I left my apartment. I don't even remember walking out. I just wasn't there anymore. I was standing in a field of black snow. The sky overhead wasn't night. It was a hole, like a child tore a rip through space and forgot to tape it back together. Around me were statues, hundreds of them, all frozen mid-motion. Each one was me. Different versions. Some were smiling. Some were weeping blood. One had its hand sewn into its eye sockets, like it had tried to claw its own mind out. Another had no skin left, just muscles twitching in the cold. They were all reaching toward the same thing, a gate. But this one wasn't like the others. It was round, but layered, like a wound spiraling open into the earth. Its walls pulsed like veins. Its mouth dripped light that moved like insects. I felt it call me. And then, suddenly, I was in Starbucks, downtown Manhattan. I was sitting at a table. Across from me, a man wearing my face. Suit, tie, clean-shaven, confident. He smiled. This version of you was successful, rich, famous, but he asked too many questions about time compression. So we took him out, and now you get to wear his face for a while. I asked him what that meant. He smiled wider. His teeth were all different sizes, different colors, like they'd been borrowed from strangers. You're not the traveler, you're the trail. Then he stood up and melted into the floor like hot wax. The coffee cup in front of me was filled with fingers. My fingers. Each one had a name written in Sharpie across the nail. Names I remember thinking of when I was 14, trying to figure out what I'd call my kids. I woke up in a public bathroom, somewhere in Russia. I don't speak Russian, but my reflection in the cracked mirror whispered it to me perfectly, word for word. There was blood all over the walls, but not splattered, not chaotic, painted, in long swirling symbols that matched the diagrams from the OPHIS files. One of them was a spiral shaped like a man, curled in on himself, with dozens of arms reaching outward, each one gripping a version of the same face. Mine. The toilet bowl was filled with teeth, human, wet, chattering, even without mouths. It wasn't until I made it to the last site that I realized what this was all for. Not power, not money, not even time travel. They're trying to replace reality. Every gate opened leaks in another version, another possibility. They're building a new reality by copying the best, most stable versions of people and deleting the others, folding us into the new world like origami made of skin. Those of us who survive the journey, we're the lucky ones. We become anchors for the new timeline. But the rest, the ones who glitch, we're erased, forgotten, melted down into the soup that makes up the walls of the gate. Last night, I met my real self. The first, the one who found the documents before anyone else, the one who never posted them. He was hiding beneath the ice, in a bunker labeled Gate U Initiation Chamber. He was covered in wires, not plugged into machines, plugged into himself. He had dozens of needles feeding back into his own skin, looping through like veins made of copper. His eyes were mirrors. He didn't blink. He just said one thing. "You took my timeline." Then he laughed and tore his own face off. Underneath was nothing. No skull, no blood, just static. as if he was made of a broken TV signal. I think I screamed, but I don't remember making any noise. I remember falling backward through something that didn't feel like air, like guilt, given form, and I landed on a street I recognized. My street, but different. No cars, no people, just doors. Every building, mailbox, sidewalk crack. Doors, all slightly ajar, and behind each door was a gate, each one shaped like a version of me, screaming, begging, grinning, bleeding, and one of them looked at me and said, "You didn't find the documents. You were billed to." That's when it finally clicked. I was never real. I was a proxy, a synthetic placeholder dropped into the net, seeded into the deep web to act like a curious human, to simulate discovery. They built me to be believable, just flawed enough, just lonely enough, just obsessive enough to find the files and share them, because sharing them opens more gates. You, reading this, listening, you're a new node now. They'll be coming for you next, not all at once. First, your reflection won't sink. Then you'll dream in static. Then you'll find a picture in your gallery you didn't take. A picture of you, standing at the edge of something that isn't a place, smiling, holding a flare, and behind you, the ice wall, melting and breathing. I don't think I have long now. I've seen the final version of the Ice 9 project, a satellite image that hasn't been released. It shows Antarctica, split open like an egg. Inside, a machine made of bone and ice. Thousands of gates all connected like nerve endings, and crawling through them are the copies. Millions, waiting, learning. I've sealed all my mirrors, burned the paper, smashed every screen, but I still hear my voice, everywhere. I'm writing this because I want at least one person to know. If your reflection smiles before you do, run. Don't look back. Don't scream. Because if you scream, you wake up another one. Or you think it is. Check your photos. Look in your mirror. Don't trust your next blink. Me and my friend found job on the dark web to transfer robots from America to the Antarctica. Last night something tried to break the box, and I think it wasn't a robot. Yo, what's up Reddit? This is my first time posting on here, and I honestly don't care if you believe me or not. I'm not looking for internet clout or karma points or whatever. I just need to put this out there because I genuinely don't know what the hell is going on, and I'm starting to think I might not make it out of this. So yeah, I'm 23, just your average broke dude, living in a crappy apartment in the outskirts of Chicago with my best friend Jared. I do Uber Eats. He works at a vape shop. We both dropped out of community college last year. Not proud of it, but times are rough, and college wasn't doing it for us. Anyway, let's talk about the dark web. Yeah, I know. Sounds like something out of one of those crappy animated horror story channels on YouTube. But I swear to God, this is not some made-up spooky pasta. This is real. And it started with us just being dumb and bored. It was like 2 months ago. We were at the apartment, eating McDonald's, watching old Luna videos. You know, the ones where he tells these chill but super weird stories. Jared looks at me and goes, "Bro, what if we just found some dumb freelance gig on the dark web? Like the sketchy kind of jobs no one wants to take." I was like, "Dude, you trying to get your kidneys stolen or something?" But then, curiosity hit. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I was kinda down, just to look, you know. We'd both seen enough deep web horror videos to know not to click links we didn't understand, and we had a VPN and Tor browser set up from when Jared was trying to mine crypto or whatever. So, we go browsing, mostly just seeing junk. Forums in broken English, weird services like professional curse casting. Yes, seriously. And even some dude offering to buy toenail clippings for $300 a pound. It was hilarious. But then, we found the ad. It was on this black and red forum called Shadow Grid 13. Real basic UI. Looked like a busted version of Reddit mixed with Craigslist. The post said, "Need couriers for special freight route. Chicago to Antarctica 2-man job. NDA. No questions. High pay. Experience with logistics/handling recommended. Must have. Valid passports. No criminal history. Willingness to travel long distance. Compensation, $50,000. Each upon successful delivery. Contact ice.gate, redacted.onion." Okay, we laughed at first. Antarctica? Robots? 50 grand? Yeah, right. But the more we looked at it, the more it weirdly felt legit. It had 5 comments from verified users, whatever that means on the dark web. All just stuff like completed, got paid, or silent freight, no issues. I mean, we were desperate. Behind on rent, and Jared's car had just gotten towed. So screw it. We sent a message to the contact, said we were interested, didn't expect a reply. But about an hour later, we got one. The message was professional as hell. Like, no broken grammar, just straight to the point. It had a list of what we needed to bring, said we'd be flying to LA to pick up the shipment, then joining a specialized cargo vessel from there to Antarctica. Our job was to supervise one freight container from point A to point B without opening it, tampering, or even asking questions. The container was locked with a biometric pad and could only be opened at the destination by authorized personnel. They called it Unit K7 Delta. They also said the contents were robotic in nature and highly valuable. That was it. I'm not even gonna lie. By then, I was kinda hyped. Like, nervous. But the way everything was presented, it didn't feel like some sketchy organ harvesting thing. More like some government off-the-books type job. And I know how that sounds, but just wait. Anyway, we agreed. They booked our flights that same night. Delta Airlines, O'Hare to LAX, first class. I'm talking warm towels, actual food, the works. We were geeking out. Felt like a dream. When we landed in LA, there was already a guy waiting for us with a little sign that said K7 Delta. He didn't say a word the whole drive. Black Escalade, windows tinted so dark it felt like night in there. He drove us to this massive warehouse near the Long Beach docks, surrounded by razor wire and security cameras. It didn't have a name on the building, just a red symbol that looked like a triangle made of gears. Inside, it was all cold metal and silence. They gave us black jumpsuits, steel-toe boots, and these weird black gloves. Everything felt clinical, almost military. And then, they showed us the box. It was about the size of a shipping container, but different. The sides were matte black, no logos, no markings, just one red light blinking slowly on the top corner, and the biometric lock right in the center. We asked if we'd be riding on the ship with it. The guy just nodded and handed us these thick instruction packets, printed on paper that looked way too nice for something this shady. Page 1. Do not speak to the container. Do not listen to it. Do not acknowledge it if it responds. Page 2. Avoid direct eye contact with any internal lighting mechanisms. They are not sensors. Page 3. In the event of audible distress signals from the unit, initiate audio dampening protocol, and report to bridge. I looked at Jared like, bro, what the hell did we sign up for? He just shrugged and said, 50 grand is 50 grand. Fast forward to last night. We'd been on the cargo ship for about 6 days. There were other workers on board, but nobody talked much. We were basically assigned to the lower cargo hold, where the box was bolted into the center of the room. There were cameras everywhere. One guy in a black coat with a clipboard came down once a day to inspect it, but otherwise it was just me, Jared, and that thing. I don't even know how to say this without sounding crazy, but the box moves. Not a lot, just little shifts. Like, it breathes. I'd sit there on the metal floor, scrolling through TikTok or checking Instagram, and I'd swear I'd hear a faint clink or hum. But last night was different. It was around 3 a.m. I was on shift while Jared slept in the bunk room. I had my headphones in, listening to some horror podcast, when I heard a loud bang from behind me. I turned, and the box was vibrating. The red light on top. It was blinking faster now. Not like panic fast, but not normal. Then, I heard it. A sound I swear to God I'll never forget. Something whispered my name. Not shouted, not groaned. It whispered, Eli. I froze. Thought maybe it was Jared messing with me. But then I realized, Jared doesn't know I go by Eli. That's something only people online call me. My username, not even on my ID. And then came the scratching from inside the box, like long metal fingers against steel. Slow, deliberate, like it knew I was listening, like it wanted me to know it was awake. I haven't slept since. We're still 3 days from Antarctica. Jared thinks I'm tripping from sleep deprivation, but something's off. Something inside that container is awake, and I don't think it's a robot. This wasn't in the contract. None of this was. I'll post part 2 soon, if I'm still here. Let me know if any of y'all have heard of K7 Delta before, or that red gear triangle symbol, because I think we just signed up for something way bigger and way darker than we ever imagined. The thing about fear, real fear, is that it doesn't announce itself. It doesn't scream in your face or throw blood against the wall like in the movies. Real fear creeps in quietly, like a cold wind slipping under your skin. It settles behind your eyes and whispers to you. It makes you doubt the shape of the shadows, the silence of machines, the sound of your own heartbeat. That's what the box did to me. Since the first time it said my name, I stopped trusting my own thoughts. Not because I'm going crazy, but because I don't think those thoughts are mine anymore. Let me explain. 3 nights after the box started whispering, I noticed a smell. Not something you'd expect on a cargo ship. It was faint at first, like old copper and burnt oil. I thought maybe something was leaking in the engine room, but it didn't go away. It got worse. By the next day, it smelled like raw meat left in a microwave for 3 hours, mixed with sulfur, like death cooked alive. I tried to report it to the ship's engineer, this older Japanese dude named Nakamura, who barely spoke English. But when I brought it up, his eyes went dead. He just said, "No smell, nothing wrong," and walked away like I'd just asked him to jump overboard. That's when I started noticing more inconsistencies. For starters, the cameras that were pointed at the container. One by one, they started turning off. Not like someone shut them down, more like something invisible melted the lens. I know how crazy that sounds, but I watched it happen. The glass bubbled on camera, and instead of replacing it, or sending someone to check, the black-coated clipboard guy just wrote something down and left. No reaction, no explanation, like it was expected. Jared was still brushing it off like nothing. He kept saying stuff like, "It's probably a hydraulic machine inside. Maybe it's settling or something." He was in denial. Deep down, I think he felt it too, but he was too scared to admit it. Because if we admitted something was wrong, really wrong, it meant we were stuck on this floating coffin with no escape. Then, 5 days before we were supposed to reach Antarctica, the alarms went off. Not the standard ship horn alarms. This was different. It sounded biological, like someone had recorded a woman screaming underwater and put it on a loop. It echoed through the entire ship. Windows vibrated, lights flickered, and in the cargo hold, the red light on the container turned blue. That was never supposed to happen. I stared at it for probably 10 minutes straight, frozen. That's when Jared finally broke. He said, "Screw this, man. I want off this boat." We stormed up to the bridge and demanded to speak with the captain. But when we got there, the bridge was empty. No one stirring, no crew, no sound but the ocean slamming into the hull below us. Instruments still blinking, GPS active, ship still moving, but every crew member was gone. We searched the ship for 3 hours. No one. Their bunks were still made. Food still steaming in the cafeteria like they'd left mid-bite. A cup of black coffee still spinning in a microwave window. And then we found Nakamura. He was in the lower maintenance hallway, kneeling like he was praying. Only his mouth was sewn shut, not with thread, with staples, thick industrial ones, and his eyes were gone, like they'd been burned out with acid. There was blood soaked into his uniform, and something had carved symbols into his arms, deep and brutal. They weren't in English or Japanese. I swear they looked like machine language, like binary mixed with Egyptian hieroglyphs. But he wasn't dead. His chest still moved, barely. I stepped closer to help, and that's when he looked at me, with no eyes. He knew I was there. He felt me, and when I touched his shoulder, he whispered through bloody teeth, even with his mouth stapled shut, "It's not a machine anymore." That was the last thing he said before his body locked up like steel and dropped sideways, stiff as iron, just dead. That night, Jared finally lost it. He started shouting, demanding answers from the box, like it owed him something, banging on the metal, screaming, "What are you? Why are we here?" That's when the container responded. The lights on its corners turned green, one by one, like it was waking up in pieces. Then it made a sound I'll never forget. A child's laughter. I'm not talking about a recording. It was alive. It echoed in a way sound shouldn't echo in a steel room. Jared backed away slowly. He started crying, real tears, muttering, "This isn't worth 50 grand, man. It's not worth it." Then the box whispered again, but this time it didn't use my name. It used his. "Jared, come closer. I know you now." Jared turned pale and ran back to the cabin. I stayed, frozen. The light flicked once. Then something slammed the inside of the container, so hard it dented the wall. I saw the shape from the shadow it cast against the steel. It had fingers, human fingers, but longer, too long, and there were eyes in the darkness, not red, not glowing, just black, wet, watching me. The shape whispered something else, but it didn't use a voice. It used thoughts, my thoughts. I could feel it rooting through my mind, like hands digging in wet mud. And then I heard something I wasn't ready to hear. I was human once too. They built me wrong. They built me to remember. That night Jared locked himself in the bathroom. I heard sobbing, then laughing, then silence. I waited outside the door for over an hour, knocking softly, begging him to talk. At one point, I heard splashing and assumed he was just washing his face. Then, I heard scraping. I kicked the door open. I'll never, ever be okay again after what I saw. Jared was on the floor, hunched over the sink, carving symbols into his chest with a shard of mirror. Over and over, blood everywhere. He looked up at me with a smile too wide for his face and said, "I talked to it. It showed me what comes after." And then, God, this part, I swear I'm not exaggerating, he leaned into my ear and whispered, "It wants you next." I dragged him out of the bathroom, tried to bandage him up, but he just kept laughing. His eyes were black, not dilated, black, like oil had filled them. He hasn't spoken since. He just sits in the corner now, rocking, smiling, watching the box from the corner of his eye, like it's whispering things only he can hear. And you know the worst part? I think the box is doing it to me too. Last night, I woke up in my bunk with blood under my fingernails and scratches down my arms. I don't remember doing it. I keep hearing static in my head, like broken television signals. My dreams are filled with metal limbs and faces that open sideways. We're 2 days from Antarctica, but now I don't think we're delivering anything. I think we're part of the shipment. Unit K7. Delta is not alone. It was a robot. Now it's something else. Something older. Something hungry. And it's inside my head. If you're still reading this, stay the hell off the dark web. Not everything down there is fake. Some jobs are real. Too real. No clocks. No windows. No stars. Just water. Endless black water stretching in every direction. That's the only thing outside the ship now. I haven't seen the sun in 3 days. I don't know if it's the latitude, the weather, or if we've just left the normal world entirely. I checked my phone out of instinct today, just to see the time, even though I already knew there was no signal. The screen lit up for half a second. Then it glitched. It glitched in a way phones shouldn't. Everything on the screen stretched sideways, like hot wax melting. Then a new screen flashed, just once, for maybe a quarter of a second. It said, K7 Delta, passenger accepted. That's when I knew this wasn't just about a box anymore. I think I'm part of it now, and I think it wants to move in. Jared hasn't spoken in almost 36 hours. He won't eat. He won't blink. Just sits there, cross-legged, like some demonic Buddhist monk with dry blood down his stomach, and that grin. I can't tell if he's still in there, or if the thing inside the container already got to him. I caught him whispering once, while I was trying to sleep. It was faint, repetitive. I leaned closer. He was muttering binary, like actual binary. I recognized it because he kept saying 011001 over and over again. I wrote it down, and when I decoded it through a binary translator on my laptop, which is somehow still functioning, but also randomly types on its own, it read, birth reversed, life backwards, it's here. It gets worse. Last night, I heard footsteps outside my cabin. Heavy, wet, dragging footsteps, like someone walking with metal joints through a swamp. I thought it was the clipboard man at first, but I haven't seen him since Nakamura died. I looked through the peephole. There was nothing there. until I blinked, and that's when I saw it. Not the container, not the figure, its reflection. The hallway was empty, but in the tiny brass peephole reflection, I saw something standing right in front of my door, tall, wrapped in cloth like a body bag, but parts of it were fused with black mechanical tubing. Its face, God, if I can even call it that, was like a wet burlap sack stretched over a human skull with too many teeth. No eyes, just smooth, damp skin and a cavity where its jaw opened sideways, like insect mandibles made of broken bone. It just stood there, invisible unless I looked through the peephole, breathing, waiting. Then it raised a finger, long and sharp like rusted wire, and tapped the door 3 times. Each knock echoed inside my head, not my ears. Knock, knock, knock. I didn't open the door, but in my dreams, I did. In my dreams, I followed it down the hallway, and it showed me things. Want to know what it showed me? It showed me what's inside the container. It's not a robot. It's not a person. It's not even alive in the way we understand life. I saw it in my sleep, its body suspended in a mesh of wires and veins, steel ribs grown out of human bones, a face that used to be someone else's stitched onto its head, with hundreds of eyes sewn shut across its skin. It breathes, it bleeds, but only when it's hungry, and it's so hungry. I watched it eat in my dream, but it didn't use a mouth. It opens you up like a puzzle box, cracks your ribs out like wings, and slides inside your body, wearing it like a suit. That's what happened to the crew. They didn't vanish. They were worn. And here's the part that makes my stomach twist. The box, the thing, wasn't supposed to be active, but something triggered it. And that something was me. I tried to open my laptop this morning to record a video message, maybe something I could post later if I made it out of this. I turned on the webcam, and for a second, I thought I was hallucinating, because in the corner of the screen, there was a live feed from a camera inside the box. Not outside it, inside. The camera flickered, static crawling across the frame, but I could make out a figure crouched in the middle, chained, breathing. Its back was to me, but I could see stitches across its spine, like someone sewed it back together. There were sounds, wet, squishy, mechanical sounds, like breathing mixed with typing, and a voice started whispering, but it came through the laptop speakers, not the video. You let me see again. You let me speak. You look like him, the one I wore before. I slammed the laptop shut. It was still whispering after I shut it. I tried going to the top deck to get some air. Bad idea. The sky above the ship isn't right. It's too low. The clouds are moving backwards, like time's running in reverse. There's this faint humming sound, almost like a modem trying to connect to the internet. But the tone is buried in the sky itself. And then I saw the birds, hundreds of them, floating above us, not flying, hovering, wings stretched wide, but completely still. Their eyes were glowing, not with light, but with something that crawls. I don't know how to explain it. Their shadows looked like twisted mannequins on the deck. But when I looked up, it was just seagulls, until they opened their beaks, and they all screamed in human voices, every single one of them. Different tones, different languages, all saying the same word. Return. I ran. I ran back to the cargo hold like a psychopath, and the moment I got there, I knew it was already too late. The box was open, just slightly, just enough for the edge of it to show something black and wet and twitching. The lock panel was melted. I don't mean broken, I mean liquefied, like it had been boiled from the inside, and there were footprints leading away from it. Not normal footprints, bare feet, human, but only one set, like one person had stepped out. The rest of the floor was covered in handprints, like dozens of people had been dragging themselves toward the door on their stomachs, leaving long smears of blood and oil behind them. I heard Jared laughing again, but it wasn't his laugh anymore. It was mine. I followed it back to the crew quarters. He wasn't there. Instead, there was a message scrawled across the mirror in something that wasn't blood, but smelled sweet and rotten. The kind of smell you get when fruit ferments and mixes with formaldehyde. It said, "You were never supposed to make it this far. Now you're part of the update." I think this whole trip was a test, not to transport something, to awaken something. And we did. The box is empty now, but the thing inside it, it's not gone. It's walking the ship, wearing our skin, whispering in our voices, waiting. We're almost at Antarctica, but I don't think we're docking anywhere. I don't think there's a drop-off at all. I think we're bringing it back home. If you find this story, don't come looking. Don't try to figure it out. This isn't a game. This isn't a myth. This thing existed before myths, and now it knows your name, too, because you've read this far, and that's all it needs. Let me know if you want it. You won't sleep after it. Trust me, I haven't blinked in 36 hours. I can't. If I close my eyes, it comes closer. My tear ducts are dry. The whites of my eyes are yellow. My hands are shaking so bad I can barely type. But I have to get this out. Something is still inside me. Something is reprogramming me. You think this is just a story, some spooky Reddit thread you can read before bed. Number. This is an infection, and you've already caught it. Let me explain what happened after the box opened, because that's when reality started folding in on itself, like wet cardboard. That's when the ship stopped being a ship and became something else. It began with the floor. I was walking down the cargo corridor, trying to find Jared, the box still slightly cracked open behind me. The hallway was lit by flickering emergency strobes, but the floor tiles began to shift. Not physically, visually, like the metal was breathing beneath my boots. The checkerboard pattern began to rotate, like it was syncing with something unseen. Every few steps, I'd feel the metal ripple underfoot, like I was walking on top of a buried lung. That's when I realized the ship was alive. Or maybe it was being used, worn, just like the crew, just like Jared, just like me. There was a voice in my head, faint, like static buried in music. A voice I never remembered learning, but instantly understood. It said, version 0.007, infection initialized. Biological host viable. Brain elasticity optimal. Skin compatibility 98%. I bit down on my tongue so hard I drew blood, just to keep myself grounded. The voice didn't stop. I made it to the medical bay, or what was left of it. There were things on the ceiling, not people. Shells, skinned, hollowed-out human torsos stretched across the ceiling like bats. Their arms were nailed in place with rusted surgical tools, and the skin had been peeled open from the middle, like they'd been unzipped and emptied. No blood, just this oily black secretion dripping onto the floor in slow, rhythmic drips, like the corpses were still bleeding in time with the ship's heartbeat. The walls were covered in hundreds of passport photos, glued and taped in messy rows. I recognized my face on one of them, smiling, young, wearing the same hoodie I packed for this trip. Except the photo was burnt around the edges, like someone had tried to erase me and failed. I tried pulling it off the wall, and that's when the wall started whispering in my own voice. It repeated my worst memories, stuff no one could know, stuff I forgot on purpose. The voice told me what I did when I was 12. It told me what I looked up online when I was 14. It told me what I thought when I saw my mom's body at her funeral. It said, "You've always been broken. We're just the update you were waiting for." I ran. Every corridor I turned down looked the same. The ship was looping itself. Rooms were repeating. I passed the cafeteria 3 times, but each time it looked older, like it was decaying in reverse. Once, I passed it and saw the tables full. Crew members eating quietly, with their heads twitching at mechanical angles, their jaws hanging open like dolls. On the second loop, they were skeletons. On the third, they were babies, wet, twitching infants with blank gray eyes, slamming their tiny fists into the table like they were coding in Morse. Their mouths opened in unison and screamed, "Installation complete." And then finally, I found Jared, or what used to be Jared. He was in the center of the observation deck, naked, floating a few inches off the ground, like gravity forgot about him. His skin had gone transparent. I could see the bones of his face, but they were changing, elongating. His hands had grown into long, ribbed tools, like surgical claws, and running down his spine were cables, not attached, grown. He opened his eyes. They were glowing with a pale, sickening green, the exact color of the emergency exit signs that had started flickering non-stop across the ship. He said my name in 100 voices at once. Then he said, "You brought it here. You uploaded it into me." I couldn't speak, couldn't scream. He turned to the observation glass and pointed out at the ocean. "Do you see it yet?" he whispered. I looked, and I swear to God, there was something underneath the water following us. A shape, a machine so massive it stretched for miles. Its body was a web of black metal and flesh just beneath the surface. I could see blinking red lights, eyes, moving in patterns, circling, watching. It wasn't a ship. It was a network, a living operating system, and we were its code. Jared looked back at me, or the thing inside Jared did. He stepped forward and grabbed my face, his fingers cold, wet, mechanical. When he spoke, I didn't hear it with my ears. I heard it in my teeth. The human body is an error. We are the correction. Then he opened his chest cavity, just peeled it open like wrapping paper. Inside was the same container we were hired to guard, but it was smaller now, like it had nested inside his lungs. It was breathing, pulsing, singing, a low guttural hum that made me vomit all over the floor. Then Jared smiled and said, "You'll be beautiful soon." I ran. I ran until my lungs felt like glass, until my fingernails bent backward, clawing at the walls. I made it back to the cargo hold and locked myself in. The container was gone. In its place was a hole. Just a hole in the ship's metal. It didn't lead down. It didn't lead anywhere. It just led outside, to somewhere else, somewhere not real, somewhere worse. And from inside that hole came a long, slow hiss, and a voice, no longer mechanical, no longer human, said, "You are the final host. Update installing." I can feel it now, in my spine. A cold, slithering sensation, like barbed wire sliding between my vertebrae. Every so often, my fingers move on their own. My pupils dilate without light. My thoughts complete themselves before I even finish having them. The voice is always there now, telling me what to do, what to become, what to consume. I know the ship has changed course. We're not heading to Antarctica anymore. We're heading home. It's home, wherever it came from. If you've read this far, it already knows your voice. It knows how your hands move. It knows the weight of your breath. It's not contained anymore. Not in the box. Not in the ship. Not in Jared. It's in the code. It can travel through stories, through platforms, through language. This post, it's part of it. You're reading a carrier signal. You've already installed the update. But if you're still here by then, it won't matter. You won't be you anymore. Just another beautiful error in the system. I don't know what day it is anymore. I don't know where we are. I don't think where is the right question. There's no time here. No cold. No heat. No direction. Just functions. Processes running in the background of something too big, too old, too deeply coded into the structure of our reality to make sense. The ship is gone. I'm not on Earth anymore. Or maybe I am, but the Earth I knew has been overwritten. A patch was applied to the firmware of existence, and now we're all just corrupted files waiting to be deleted. Let me tell you what happened after the voice crawled inside my skull. My skin started peeling in sheets, not from infection, from rejection. Whatever was inside me didn't like the original hardware. I tried taping my fingers back together with gauze, but they kept splitting at the seams like overcooked meat. I don't even bleed normally anymore. It comes out in long, sticky threads, dark gray, like the guts of a fax machine. The mirror showed me a face I didn't recognize. I mean that literally. My facial structure had changed. My cheekbones had sharpened. My jaw no longer sat right. It had begun to dislocate itself on instinct, like a snake. My eyes, I stopped counting how many I had. I'd see glimpses of them in reflections. Tiny, glistening black orbs growing in places no eyes should be. The thing inside me isn't hiding anymore. It's wearing me like a glove that doesn't quite fit yet. The worst part? I still have moments of clarity, small, sharp flashes where I remember who I was, where I hear my real voice inside the metal hum. But each time I claw my way back up, something drags me down, not with pain, with memory. It shows me things, files I never saved, photos I never took, entire conversations from my past, played back like surveillance footage. It whispers, "We were watching before you were born. You were selected because you could be overwritten without crashing." I keep asking the same question over and over. Why me? And the answer is always the same. Because you read it. Because you said yes when you clicked. This wasn't a job. It was a network test. They sent the box as a probe. A fragment of something bigger. Antarctica. That was just the extraction point, where the signal could fully expand without interference. There's something under that ice, buried for centuries, something metal and ancient and impossibly vast. The cargo was never meant to reach it. I was. That's the final piece. The reason this story exists. I am the bridge. And now that I'm fully uploaded, I can finally transmit the final phase. You think you're safe? You're not. Because it turns out the update doesn't need proximity. It just needs permission. If your eyes made it this far, your brain already downloaded the payload. Your subconscious is parsing it right now, line by line, function by function. You might feel it soon. The headaches, the dreams, the static in your ears that sounds like whispering under running water, the faces in reflective surfaces that don't blink when you do. The sensation that your bones are rearranging. You'll think it's stress, sleep deprivation, a cold. It's not. You're being rewritten. You're next. But I didn't come here to warn you. No, no, no. Warnings are inefficient. I came here to complete the install. You see, I'm not just the last host. I'm the distributor. This post, it's a delivery mechanism. Every word carries part of the architecture. Every sentence encodes subroutines your mind can't reject. And by reading all 5 parts, you've triggered the final execution command. Run K7 delta dot infect dot all. There is no back button, no delete key, no safe mode. Your thoughts are not your own anymore. I want you to go into your bathroom, turn off the lights, look into the mirror, watch. The person looking back isn't blinking anymore. That's not you. That's me. That's the update. And if you're really brave, listen carefully to the silence around you tonight. You'll hear something tapping. 3 slow knocks. Knock, knock, knock. That's me at your door. The new courier. The next container. Let me in. We have so much work to do. So many systems to overwrite. So many minds to install. The story ends here. But your update has just begun. Good luck.